Good evening, everyone. Direct deposit began in the 1970s with the goal of alleviating the tremendous amounts of paperwork that were developing for the financial institutions because of all the invoices and bills and checks going back and forth from one person to another. According to the NACHA, the organization that's involved with managing this payment system, 93% of all American citizens receive their paycheck via direct deposit. Moreover, as part of the CARES Act passed in March of 2020, the U.S. government sent stimulus payments to most of the American population through the use of direct deposit. And I would say that most Americans love the convenience that direct deposit provides. But I don't think that God believes in direct deposit. But we'll get back to that in a moment. In parshat's beshalach, we have the famous event of God splitting the sea in the process of taking the Jewish people out of Egypt. Let's set the scene. Bnei Yisrael are running for their lives. Paro and his army are chasing after them. And they are trying to take the Jewish people back as slaves. The Jewish people get backed up to the sea, and it seems that there is no place for them to go. And they are understandably panicked, and they cry out to God for salvation. So what's God's response? In Perek Yudaled Pasuk Tesvav, chapter 14, verse 15, God says, "Ma titzak elai? Why are you crying out to me?" He says to Moshe, "Daber b'nei Yisrael, speak to the Jewish people, vayisau, and they'll travel." God seems to be telling Moshe, just have the Jewish people get going. But this is a little puzzling. Doesn't God understand why the Jewish people are so frightened? How is this directive supposed to help anything? The Gemara in Masechah Sota on Daf Lamed Zayin Amud Aleph, folio 37a, tell us more of what's going on behind the scenes. See, Moshe was davening to God for salvation. God tells Moshe, this is not the time to pray. The Jewish people are in pain. You got to do something. Get going. God tells Moshe all the Jewish people need to do is travel into the sea, and it will split before them. Nothing more needs to be done. Okay, so now that we understand a little bit more about what's going on behind the scenes, so now the question is, why was this necessary? Why couldn't God just split the sea for them? Why do they need to jump into the water for the sea to split? If you're going to split the sea, just split the sea. Why do the Jews need to be involved in this process? The Rav Okin explains the Jews needed to jump into the water to demonstrate their emunah and their bitachon, their faith in God and their trust in God on a practical, tangible way. They would do so by jumping into the sea. They would show that they believed God's guarantee to take them out of Egypt, saving them from Paro's army, by getting into the water. They needed to take God's check, as it were. Take it to the bank, act on God's guarantee. When I was a student in Vassar Tzion a number of years ago, I had a very impactful encounter with one of the rabbis on staff. His name is Rabbi Daniel Glanz. We just finished a kumzitz, an event where Jews sit around together, singing meaningful songs, and we felt like we were on a spiritual high. So Rabbi Glanz asked us what we were planning to do next. As it was late on a Friday evening, we gave what we thought was the rational response. We were planning to go to sleep. We were exhausted. It had been a long week. Most of us had gone to sleep on many of the weeknights, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. We were young. We were carefree. We had copious amounts of energy somehow. So he said, we're going to go to sleep. We got to sleep sometime. Rabbi Glanz recommended that we go to the study hall, we go to the Beis Medrash for a few moments to study a little bit of Torah before we'd retire for the night. He explained that by doing so, we'd be able to take these spiritual feelings that we had from our kumzitz, concretize them, apply them, and bring them into our souls in a practical way. There are many inspirational moments in a person's life. Sometimes they're a life cycle event, a wedding, a bris, a bar mitzvah. Sometimes we may be inspired by a particular Torah class that we attend. But if we just leave that moment of inspiration, we're missing the point, we're missing the opportunity that this moment has. The thing is, God doesn't believe in direct deposit. Spiritual growth does not come with an automatic deposit into our spiritual bank accounts just because we sat passively and experienced something. If we really want to have a meaningful life, if we really want to grow closer to God, if you really want to feel that we are growing and making a difference, we need to take those moments of inspiration, take them from being intellectual or being experiential, and make them internal, to bring them inside of ourselves. God's not going to deposit spiritual growth into our heavenly bank accounts. We need to do something. After a class on a particular topic in the Torah that we might hear, if we want to apply it, if we want to internalize it, we need to try to actualize that idea, or the ideas expressed in that class, in a practical way. If we're at an inspirational event, a life cycle event, a way we can channel that emotion is into prayer, to talk to God, to express how we're feeling at the next possible prayer service that we can attend. Let's take the practical steps to take our meaningful moments in life and to make them count by learning Torah after an event like that, by taking the inspiration we might have and channeling into prayer to acts of chesed, loving kindness to other people, or some other mitzvah. To take our Judaism and take it from being intellectual or being experiential in a passive manner and to make it active, to apply it, to grow with it, to refine ourselves and get closer to God. Let's cash God's spiritual check, as it were, into our spiritual bank accounts. Have a great week.